So how do we get these citizens' engagement at the state level? Because we all talk about huge unemployment, and if we say it's XY number, it means every state has some number of unemployed people. So when you collect it, multiply, or add it up to 36 plus FCT, we have the headline figure. Then we're talking about debt as well. Then we'll talk about the IGR. Well, then we'll talk about the FAC allocation. So do you think that we've gotten to a level in which state governments are looking like unviable business enterprises or units of the federal, whereas we all say there's a problem here with the structure because the federal government is the godfather who makes it difficult for the state governments to function economically speaking? What's your view?
No, I think the challenge is at the state government level. Let's begin to disabuse our mind of the federal government. The federal government gets a huge chunk of what we generate as a revenue in Nigeria. But if state governments, like if you see the case of Anambra State, in the last 10, 15 years, it has had a mix of good and bad leadership. Good in the sense, you look at the time P2B was the governor of Anambra State, to the time Ngigi was the governor of Anambra State, compared to Mbajunu's time as Anambra State governor. There has been a transition from a government that were rarely interested in developing the state to governments that were interested in developing the state. So P2B left office and he left little or no debt for Anambra State government. So he now created a foundation for the present governor to be able to develop the state in installments, even if he's not doing it as much as we want it to do. So if you go across some other states, the culture of waiting for FAC, Federal Allocation Committee disbursement from federal government to the state government is what has been holding several state governments down. So a governor really rarely has time to think long term. How do we develop the agri sector? That is not a concern. How do we develop the health sector? Is rarely a concern. How do we develop infrastructure? That is not even a concern for them. What they wait for is get the FAC allocation, pay salary as much as they want to pay, keep the remaining to run government at the state level. So we need to get to the point where citizens and indigenous across every state in Nigeria begin to play a greater role. For instance, budget report is out. Is it shaping discussions around the Osun state government election that's happening tomorrow? Is really shaping the discussion. Have we seen indigenous of the states like Kaduna State, Lagos State, Bauchi State, Osun State coming out to say, look, we're not satisfied with the level of debt profile we have in our state? That is not even happening. And the reality also is that this is not happening because the core foundation for citizens engagement in Nigeria is broken. If you go to universities, and we did a survey of some universities, I'll ask a question. How many of you guys know you paid caution fee when you got into the university system? Most persons didn't know. Why didn't they know? They didn't even take time to read through the fee breakdown for what they paid when they resumed in school. So if you didn't take time to read through your fee breakdown, that is even a problem. That says we're not even critical enough. And upon your graduation, how many of you were able to ask for your caution fee, whether they gave you or not? How many of you placed a reminder on your school to say, look, I have passed through this institution, I'm not indebted to the school, you have cleared me as a final year student, now return my caution fee to me. People are not interested. So this is how we begin to get disconnected from governance. And once you get disconnected at that very little level, you move up from being an undergraduate to being a graduate. You are really interested in your state government. All you are interested in is when the federal government launch another, you win. Or when we government launch another Empower program. When we government launch another maybe Sure P program. But you are not talking to your state governments to say, look, I come from Bauchi State, for instance. I want to know what my state government has done with loan it acquired in the last 3-4 years. In Kano State, for instance, there's a 200 million loan that the state government is taking for agri development. And the question we asked in the meeting last week in Kaduna is, how many farmer groups in Kano State have engaged with the state government in relation to this $200 million loan to say, what do you want to put these funds into? And what ways are we going to track the usage of this fund? It is not happening. And once it's not happening, the state governors feel little or no pressure. And with that happening at the state level, they keep telling you, oh, government will launch another power in the next 2-3 years. Everybody keeps looking up to the federal government. Now, this is not to say federal government is doing all it needs to do, no. But we're saying if we keep to put emphasis and place focus on the federal government, we will then give state governors the laxity to do whatever they want to do.
Let's continue this conversation again where the shoe really pinches, and that has to do with internally generated revenue. Why is this difficult, almost impossible, like a knife to the neck for state governments? But they complain that the federal government is holding an exclusive list. They can't dig the ground for gold or anything because the government says it belongs to the federal. Then they can't drill for oil because Lagos government says it belongs to them. So you ask me, what is left for any state government, perhaps outside Lagos, for example, to do to generate a decent IGR that has gradually become almost elusive, that we all state governments queue up at the doorstep of the press, Mr. President, for Paris Club refund money before they pay salaries of the workers?
So if you ask me in that regard, there is this thing about state governors doing the convenient thing and again doing the needful. So when you want to do the convenient thing, you look at FAC as a state governor. After FAC, you look at what IGR is being generated. And after that, you look at next to nothing. But for those who want to do the needful, like in Anambra State, if you check the IGR position for Anambra State in the last 3 years, it's constantly improving, which is because the state governor knows that he cannot do less than what the previous administration did. But for state government that really wants to do anything, they keep looking at the convenient thing, which is the FAC and the present position of IGR. And I'll tell you something. Ministry of Mines and Steel Development has, in the last 2 years or thereabout, made easier the process of conducting mining activities at state level. All they needed to do is to come strike a partnership with the ministry and you go do your mining activities. What's stopping from state government that has a mineral deposit from exploring it? Because it's a long-term business, it's a long-term project. So a governor who is not sure whether he's going to get re-elected by the next election in 2019, and you want him to start doing a long-term project of maybe going into the extractives, you wouldn't want to do that. We do so much of the next election in Nigeria and not the next generation. Governors are too short-sighted. Most times, the 4 year a governor spends in office is narrowed down to 1 active year, because in the first year, little or nothing is done. In the second year, that's when they do some kind of activity. By the 3rd year, he's thinking of, will I get re-elected? If he's not going to seek re-election, he will start thinking of, where do I go to? Am I going to Senate, or what is the next thing for me? And so his entire policies and programs in the 3rd and 4th year are things that are designed to either keep him in office or get him re-elected to the Senate. So I don't buy the argument that because federal government controls several things on the exclusive list, state governments are not able to do anything. In Anambra State, for instance, the Orient Petroleum is about starting production, even though we don't know when it will start. But there has been an effort to bring Orient Petroleum in Anambra State to a place where it will start working. In Lagos State, for instance, Dangote Refinery is going to come up. Even though it's not a government-owned thing, but you see the effort Lagos State government played in seeing that it comes to life. In Edo State, you have several cement factories working. In Kogi State, during the time of Abubakar Audu, Dangote Cement came in, and the state government made it easy for Dangote to set up the cement factory. And it's getting good IGR from that place. So any state governor that wants to improve the IGR of the state has a way of doing it. But those who don't want to improve are the ones who will tell you because, oh, several things are on the exclusive list, we can't do anything. What stops you from going to Mr. President to say, look, we want to explore for oil, we have oil, we want to explore for it. How do we go about it? What stops you from getting your National Assembly members to begin to push for amendment to certain acts or law that will enable you improve your IGR? But most times, like I said, it's always a 4-year thing for several state governors. 4 years in the first term to get re-elected, 4 years in the second term to push to go to Senate or to put somebody who will keep perpetuating him in office. So improving IGR is more like a long-term projection for them, so they don't want to go into that place.